Alright guys, so in today's video I'm going to go over the steps and process of wrapping a door. I got a door on a new 2020 F-150 here. So I've already cleaned it, I've already prepped it with alcohol, got everything ready. I got my vinyl laid out, cut out, ready for the panel. So we're going to kind of put you on a tripod here and I'll kind of go over the steps as I go. Here, let's make sure this works. Bingo. So first, obviously, as you can see, F-150s are all aluminum, so we have to use masking tape or magnets don't quite work. Sorry for my list, I have braces on, so I sound all funny and dumb, but it works. So first thing, I created a hinge point here with my tape. Kind of get the vinyl out of the way. Dropped it down. I got a backing slitter here. Want to trim the backing off, the top half. So the cool thing about this backing slitter is there's Teflon here that slides along the vinyl so you don't ever cut the vinyl, and the blade only cuts the backing alone. Definitely worth the money. If you're looking into getting into wrapping, I think they're like 30 bucks. Definite plus investment. Okay, so then I'll pull the backing off this. Make sure the vinyl doesn't touch the ground or anything else. Get dirt onto it. Pull it up. Set it up there. Set it over here. Now the part I'm going to focus on first isn't up here. It's actually right here. So I want to kind of, I'm not pulling hard, I just want to kind of take any cross tension out of it so that when I do get ready to go in a downward motion, there's no extra tension on this part of the vinyl, so I'm not trying to fight any wrinkles as I go. So I'll just kind of set that by hand here. Nice pivot, take my squeegee. There's like a little body line right here that's good. You can see that's the backing paper right there. Now I got a little line set and pull the masking tape off. No longer need that. The vinyl holds itself at this point. So then I'm going to work up. I'm not going to worry about the bottom. There's backing on this. I don't have to worry about dirt getting under it or anything else like that. It's fine how it is while I work this top. So first I'm going to kind of bring this up. And that actually looks alright how it is. I'm going to come up to this body line here. So as you can see, I'm not really focused on like wrapping into the window trim right now super far. I'm just kind of getting to that body line and all the way around. All you can, like I said, take my glove around, set that line real quick, go to the edge here, set that pillar, grab this, kind of make sure that I got nice even tension all the way across. I'm not pulling super hard, I'm not stretching a ton. I'm just kind of, one thing about vinyl, yes it will stretch, yes you can post-it, take memory out, but the less you stretch it, the better off you're going to be, the less failures you're going to have. I'm going to tuck down into this channel here. You can pull these off. I don't see a purpose of it, especially on a black truck like this. Don't really need to. I can tuck far enough in there, and I can get my knife blade in there. So I'll trim straight out, and then down along this groove. And so I'm kind of holding pressure my blade back this way to do a cut on that. That way, you only let your blade out. Whenever you do your cuts, you only want your blade like barely out. The further out your blade is, the bigger risk of cutting into paint and everything else. So I always try to teach people barely have your blade out at all. Like vinyl, you're only 2 mils thick most of the time, so like I don't know if you know what 2 mils is. It's thinner than paint. So you really don't need a whole lot of blade out to cut vinyl. Another thing about vinyl is it really doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to cut either. So, I mean, literally the weight of your razor knife will cut vinyl. It doesn't take a lot. So, if you're just starting out, I stress having patience, taking your time, and working it right. So, now I kind of went into this channel a little. What I do is I don't want the vinyl to touch this inner lip. I want to kind of feed it into the channel from where I've already set. So I'll slowly work it down into that groove. And what that does is that pulls tension over all this vinyl into that groove, so you're not putting just tension of that groove into that. A lot less chance of failure. And big thing about vinyl is getting a feel for it, kind of knowing your tension spots and everything else, making sure, I mean, if you could wrap a whole car without any tension period, you'd be set. That car would never fail. So, just working it down into here, kind of letting the vinyl conform itself. And see, it's going to get a little bit of tension into there. Another thing is you want to try to do what you can without heat. Obviously, there's things you're going to need heat on. Your door cups, things like that, you'll heat up a little. But for the most part, the least amount of heat you can use, the better. Just your rate of being overstretching goes up significantly whenever you heat it. So you want to try to use as little heat as possible. And you definitely don't want to overstretch the vinyl. So right there, you can see it has a lot of tension once it kind of come back up. So what I'm going to do is do a relief cut. Now when you do your relief cuts, you want to try to not stop a straight line. Your vinyl, when you go to stretch it and put stress on it, if you have a straight cut, it will split and more than likely go into the panel where you want it not to have a cut, obviously. But yeah, so you'll take some of the tension out of the corner. You can see here, I can see right here, it ends literally just right here. So I'll take a knife and bring my relief cut even further in. From there, pretty much there's no more tension in that corner. So that corner is fully set, very little tension, if any, into it. And I'm going to work on down here. I'm just feeding it into that groove. Now one thing that we do is we pull all door handles, all seals. You can see the window track seals right there. This window track seal is gone. And we do that just, it gives it a lot cleaner finish. Could you initially wrap a door with this track on? Yes. Could you tuck it? Yes. But why? It takes literally 2 minutes to pull it, and now you got beyond full coverage. You're never going to see a seam. It will never peel back, and it will never peel up. So 2 minutes of time, it's just saved us from this truck ever coming back to the shop for a door panel. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. So then up here, I'll tuck all the way up into that. And the reason why, even though that seal comes over and covers this, I don't necessarily have to tuck into that. I want to, because when I go to do this front edge, what it's going to do is give that gray look even beyond the seal. So it looks more like the truck's painted gray. You don't have a hard gray to black line right here. You won't have one. Now, I want to add a little bit of heat to this in a little bit before I actually go through and trim it. So I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to start working down the door. Find my stool here. guess I could be more prepared. Cool. Now I'm going to find the backing paper, the edge that I cut, action. Now I can just unroll the backing paper as I go. So what I do, door panels are typically flat this way. You don't very often have a door panel that curves this way at all. So I always work top to bottom. And see, the backing's peeled off all the way down to here. So I'll put my hand actually below that and see how when I pulled, it just evened out all that tension. Now, all I have to do is take my squeegee and go over it. Like, I'll focus on the door handle first, make sure there's no wrinkles around it, then I'll work away. And then I also try to always keep my squeegee at a 30-degree this way and about 45 off the door. See, even if it does start to put in wrinkles, I can capture that on camera. But by going this angle, it pushes it right out for me. I mean, easy as that, right? By leaving backing paper on it for as long as I can, it keeps a nice even tension across there. If I do need to pull like this at all, it kind of gives like a pull bar effect to where you have even tension pull, so you don't have extra stretching here, there, or vice versa. So I will actually keep that backing paper on there as long as I possibly can until the end, just so I get a nice even tension down the door panel. And then, so we came to this groove that's in the door panel. Again, just like I said up there, you really don't want to stretch into the door panel. So what I'm going to do is I'll kind of keep the vinyl off the door a little, and then I'll just feed down into that groove. I mean, if you end up with a little wrinkle, don't freak out. Simply grab the backing and the vinyl, peel back a little bit, and relay it. It's not the end of the world. You can pull it up and relay it, it'll be just fine. See, now I've got that groove laid, and there's absolutely zero tension in that groove. So, see on some trucks where this groove kind of pops off, and after 6 months, the vinyl breaks apart, starts chipping. This won't ever have that. So one thing about vinyl is it's made with PVC, so it has memory. And different manufacturers have different temperature sets, but typically it's right around 190 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll have to post-heat vinyl to get rid of the memory in it. And usually at the shop, you got a helper, they'll come behind you after you've laid a panel and go over and spend the time to post-heat the whole panel, make sure everything's down and flawless, reassemble, things like that. I've always been taught, and I've always taught, as an installer, your money's being made while the squeegee's in your hand. So you can see I'm coming into this next dip here on this. And again, I'm just kind of feeding the vinyl down into it. I'm not what they call bridging it at all. Mainly because bridging causes failures. Or I should say higher risk of failure. It doesn't always fail. Get a good post heat on it sometimes. Can make it really work out well. But so kind of just going with my wrap glove here up on the bottom of this. And the reason why I'm using the glove instead of squeegee is I can't really see right here. I mean, I could lay on the ground and do it, but I can feel with my glove. I can feel everything under here with the glove. So just kind of laying it down. Now it's set all the way under. Let's see, next thing I'll show you, just throw a little bit of heat on this door handle area here. We'll get that in. So as I heat, you'll see wrinkles kind of form and then disappear. And that's when you want to start laying, is after the wrinkles disappear. So see how they form? And then it kind of goes back to glass right there. Perfect. And I'll start at one end. So when you do door cups, you want to make sure you pay attention where the opening is. On this F-150, the whole back is open, so it's not a big deal. Cars and stuff, you definitely want to work from one side to the other, because you'll want to push the door cup into the open handle area. Air always needs a place to go and escape. There we go. And then I trim that out here in a minute. I'll be just fine. Up here kind of popped a little. I want to add a little bit of heat to that edge, just to make sure it stays down. You want to heat all these edges. Just to make sure if there is anything in that recess that wants to come up, it comes up now. So I can get it back down. Okay. So, door's pretty well set. One thing you don't want to do, you don't want to try cutting vinyl while it's hot still. Doesn't cut very well. You'll end up with basically like shark teeth cuts. Kind of looks like you kind of just dragged a dull blade across it. So another thing, always make sure your blade is sharp, ready to rock. I'll trim out this now. We'll trim out the window sill. Pretty much, I have my blade set up against the body of the car. I'm not angled in, digging the car. I'm actually just slightly angled out. Make sure my blade doesn't come in contact with the paint at all. Paint cut will be your worst nightmare. I mean, you have to repaint a panel on a car or something, there goes all your profit. So, being good with your blade and very knowledgeable about where your blade's at, what it's doing, and everything else is really what sets a good installer apart from someone that's just alright. I mean, how mad would you be if you bought a brand new vehicle, pulled the wrap off 6 months later, and you had all these paint cuts everywhere? Yeah, the wrap covers them, but the wrap's not going to be on there for the life of the vehicle, most likely, so make sure you do it right. And then these door channels all have like different grooves and stuff in them. Make sure you take your time, follow it, cut it out right. Now this is probably cooled down enough that I can cut this out. Pay attention to what it's doing underneath, because you got two little tabs right here and right here that actually go back and in. That the door handle bolts to, essentially. So I'm going to make sure that my knife blade is angled enough to where I'm not coming anywhere near cutting that paint. And even though it's on the inside of the door handle and stuff, still never want to cut paint. And you've seen, I'm sure you guys have seen those videos if you're watching this one by now, where people will cut vinyl on their arm or on a balloon or so to kind of test themselves as to where their knife pressure is and knife skills are as far as it comes by doing vinyl. The way I learned, the way I had to do it for my certification, if you want, cut yourself a 12 by 12 piece of vinyl, slap it on the glass, put another layer on top of it, and then test yourself drawing S's with your knife blade, but only cut the top layer, not the bottom. Once you can do that, you can kind of get a feel of what the pressure needs to be. And actually, I might make Connor do that tomorrow. Test him out. Alright, so we are now going to come over to here. I'll try to show you guys the best I can on this door edge. These are kind of tricky. Like I said, you gotta, so I keep a little bit of tension going this way, and I come with the back side of my squeegee. And the reason why I use the back side instead of the felt side is I actually want it to grab the vinyl a little bit and kind of stretch it down to place. This right here, so this is a manufacturer defect. Clear coat has some bubbles in it right there. That's another thing to pay attention to panels before you wrap them. Know all the defects, know where issues may arise, and just be prepared for it. So again, as I go into this channel, I'm really trying not to stretch it at all into the groove. I want it to lay pretty flat into there. And then I'll come out with it. And then around this edge right here. Now some people may ask, hey, why are you going through all that detail? It's a black truck, black door jambs. They're not paying for the door jambs. Technically, I could cut right on that, be fine. But as I was doing the other side yesterday, Connor decided to make fun of me that I wasn't doing the extra mile for this customer, so we are. That just looks better. I mean, it don't take a whole lot extra, but it definitely will set you apart from other shops. I mean, cutting corners and things like that. And this lady is actually kind of lucky with hers, is the dealership's paying for it because they sold the truck she initially bought out from under her. So one of the dealerships that we work with here is actually paying me to wrap the truck for her so she has the color she wants. Which is kind of cool. A lot more. That's another thing that's happened in the last few years, is a lot more dealerships are becoming open to wraps and things like that. They used to be strongly against vehicle wraps. I mean, if you had to trade your vehicle in, chances are they'd make you pull your wrap or charge you or not give you as much money if it's wrapped. Now, depending on the vehicle, as long as it's kind of a newer vehicle, things like that, they understand that wraps are becoming more popular. It's a great way to protect your paint, everything else, kind of help out, keep things looking new, unique colors, obviously. So they're kind of warming up to the idea of vehicle wraps, and chances are, if you go somewhere now, you'll be able to trade in your vehicle still wrapped. You won't have to pull it. So it's kind of cool. Industry's kind of becoming more mainstream, I guess is the way to put it. More acceptable by even dealerships, which is really awesome. We got a lot of dealerships that, because it's really popular for black roofs, so one of the dealerships we work with is actually having us do a lot of their cars roofs black. And I mean, they say they can't keep them on the showroom floor after they do it. Like, it's, people just love the black roof look and the vinyl and everything else. So it's kind of cool to see how the industry's coming along and everything's changing. like I said, 2 years ago or so, you wouldn't be able to trade in your vehicle with a wrap on it because they just didn't trust what was under it. And I can kind of understand their concern to a point, but at the same time, like honestly, vinyl is the same thickness as paint. If you have issues with the paint underneath, you're going to have issues with the vinyl on top. So yeah, just kind of working this on down, making sure that I don't have any bridging going on in here. I don't want to come back and have this popped up and be like, hey, why is there a big old bubble in my channel? Things like that to fix. So just taking my time. And we might actually, due to the length of this, I might actually do this kind of in a 2-part video. Maybe we'll leave it all on one. What your guys' attention span is. Me personally, if the video is over like 10 minutes long, I don't watch all of it anyways. I mean, maybe my 6-year-old daughter has a better attention span than me, I don't know. And if you do find that you get a tiny little bubble in there or something, a great tool to have, it's called an air release tool. It's basically like a needle. And the reason why that's good is using your knife blade tip leaves, as I told you before, vinyl will want to split. And if you use your knife blade tip, it leaves a straight line cut into it, which eventually heat, cool, and everything else, that'll want to split. Around one, it won't split. It's perfectly round, no sharp edges to split down. So that's the whole reason why they created the air release tools. Now let's kind of back up. There's a little bit of heat here. Kind of make sure that edge is down. Turn that off. I'm going to bring it around the front side here. And then when I go to cut this, I want to put my knife this way and angled out, come down that way. Again, knife tip barely out. You don't want to do any scary cuts. Just like so. Come down. Now the piece I'm cutting off, I always grab with my spare hand and keep slight tension on. It always helps me kind of make sure the knife does a nice straight clean cut. And come back, make sure I push the edge back down. Here. And if for some reason you feel your knife blade grab on something, stop immediately, figure out what it's grabbing on, and choose the best plan of attack to resume cutting. But yeah, if you feel it snagged, do not just push to the snag and hope for the best. Always figure out what your blade snagged on. Okay, now I'm going to go back. I'm going to heat that edge that I just tucked. Kind of go over it with my glove, make sure it's down. Call this sealing the edge. Just kind of cool. Alright, now to do that top and back edge, I need to open the door. So what you want to do is make sure the vinyl is off the next panel. It's kind of stuck a little. Just kind of pop it. Otherwise, what you run into the risk of doing when you go to open the door is you'll actually end up ripping the vinyl, have a real bad risk of running the rip back into the panel you just wrapped. You do that, basically start over. You just killed the last 20-30 minutes. Yeah, and kicking yourself in the butt, wasting vinyl, wasting time. And sometimes the door won't let you open it if it's snagged elsewhere. There we go. Okay. Now, I want to kind of start up here. You can see that's done. So what I'm going to do is kind of pull away, hook, and let it come back like that. See how that corner is now pretty well set. I could run a knife along that edge. Be pretty well smooth, no wrinkles. I'm just kind of rolling over the edge all the way down here. Sorry, camera skills aren't the best. Probably got a little close there for a second. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. Just going over all the edges, making sure everything is fully set. And then I'll do another open cut this way when I'm done, all the way along the edge. Then of course I'll take some heat over it after that, make sure it's all sealed. Don't need that no more. If you ever tint windows, you'll get in the habit of having a rag over your shoulder all the time. So don't really need it on vinyl. Just kind of a habit I've picked up from tinting windows. Making sure that I'm rounded over all the edges. There's no real wrinkles in it. Grab my step stool. Now, could I just reach up with my knife and do it without looking? Probably. But if my face is right there in it too, you know I'm going to get a good cut. Always make sure you got a sharp knife blade. Your blade gets a little dull, you'll get the, basically I call them sharp teeth cuts. It looks like a little zigzag cut from where it actually cuts and where it grabs the vinyl instead of cutting. Do not want that. Looks rough. It's rough. So you get a little bit better. Last thing you want to do is just go crazy and cut up a car. Or maybe you do, I don't know. Maybe you're like one of those YouTubers out there that like destroying cars instead of making them better. Never know, to each their own, you know. Another thing I want to remind you, if you're learning, don't get discouraged. Chances are you're not going to be perfect right away. And good chance you're not going to be perfect right away. So just keep at it. I recommend practicing on your own stuff, not necessarily customers. Cleanliness is also key, so make sure you've got a clean shop, clean space to work. I've seen guys wrap on the side of their house or in their driveways in a windstorm. Can it be done? Yes. Quality there? Probably not. At the very least, in a garage, clean garage, you're going to try this yourself. So I'm still on the edge. And I'm done. Burn my hand a little. It's all right. Alright, that panel is now done. I can start reassembling it. I got a little bit of the door handle to wrap and stuff before I put it on. I put that trim on. Everything's looking pretty good. Edges, just slight. There we go. Got that down. Edges are down. These edges won't ever be seen. This still goes up into that. It's down in the groove. Things pressed pretty well. Nice and smooth. Edges done. Looking like paint. And that's the end goal. If it looks and you can't tell the difference between your wrap job and a paint job, that's what you want. That's the ultimate goal you're going for right there. Especially a year down the road when you can go back and be like, dude, that still looks like paint. You can't notice a flaw anywhere. That's your ultimate goal. But yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment below if you want more videos like this. We'll try pumping these out for you, give you little tips, reminders, things like that. Again, sorry it's so long, but it does take time. Obviously, it took me a half hour, just over a half hour to wrap this door, which actually is pretty good for a door. But yeah, just keep practicing, keep learning. We'll see you next time.